All right, let me see if I got the audio. Everyone's looking at my flabby bicep. I love it. All right, so welcome. Let's see if this is actually working. All right, looks good. All right, so this one is going to be a little bit different. Is this working? Yeah, there we go. A little bit of a delay. That's fine. I was going to try and listen to music while I do this, but I clearly need to just put another device on here. This setup is so wonky, but you can't really tell by the sketch right now, but this is actually going to be a painting of Tyche or Fortuna, who is the Greek goddess. Oh well, Tyche is the Greek goddess of luck and fortune and fate, and Fortuna is the Roman equivalent of fate and chance and luck. Often they are listed together. Oh, I gotta lower this. Let me lower this just a little bit. I adjusted everything and then I adjusted the painting. There we go. With the beginning of the school year happening, I thought, hey, let us do something to bring a little luck to the school year. Starting in a new building, I might need it. So I figured, let's start. I wanted to reuse this painting anyway. This actually was a collage that had a ton of aliens on this, and I wanted to just kind of reuse it a bit. Although I'm realizing now this brush isn't clean. Oh boy. Let's use this really expensive U-Trick brush that I did not take good care of. All right, so I got a whole palette. You know me. Most of the primary colors. I just wanted to try something a little bit different. I don't know if the chat's even working. I might have to just not do this with the stream manager. Let's close that. Yeah, I don't. For some reason, the chat won't load. I do not know why. It's driving me nuts. I apologize. So, let's get started on this. What's nice also is I can actually. Oh, this is a giant chunk of paint coming off the side of this. I had this paint for a while. This is kind of like a bit of the. What was I using this paint for? Was this part of the Camp Fatima backdrop for the play, possibly? I don't know. Camp Fatima is this camp for kids with special needs, severe cognitive and physical needs, sometimes both. And I've been volunteering there for about 20 years. And for the past two, I've been painting the backdrop to the play. And every day there's a play put on that has to do with the theme of our theme, or the theme of the week. So it plays into the whatever the theme was or was chosen. So this year was man, I don't want to add more weight to this, but I probably should. This year's theme was no, I'm just gonna pour this in here. This year's theme was Inside Out, probably because, capitalize on the release of Inside Out 2. And I painted the backdrop. It's actually sitting in my living room as we speak. And then the activities staff, who basically run all the events that happen every day and put on the play and take on the role of different characters from whatever they decide, or if there's a particular IP we're leaning on that year, will embody those characters for the whole week, and it's really great. Honestly, I definitely go for the play, even though I'm arts and crafts co-director with my homie Shannon. We do arts and crafts with the campers, come up with different activities based on the theme and the themes of the day. Man, this thing is so bumpy. So the last painting I was doing, the aliens, was super rough because it was an unsanded piece of wood. It was like a tray my sister had at her house, I think. Somehow made it to my mother's house. I'm just like, oh, look at this unprimed piece of junk wood. I'm just going to paint on it. And I thought, oh, the texture will be cool. The texture was not cool. The texture was, as they say in the business, a flipping nightmare. And anyone knows me knows I mean the real word. And part of it was just because when you paint on something that's really rough, the texture kind of takes hold on the surface as you're going. If you've ever seen anyone do like murals on bricks or whatnot, this is actually, normally I do a wash. I thought, hey, I took this painting, had a bunch of collaged elements on it. I've repainted this individual canvas no less than 6 times. I painted on it and hated it, and then I glued a bunch of. Then I used hot glue, I think. No, I used puffy paint on it, and I hated that. I liked it at first, and then I learned to hate it. So then I was like, I'll paint over it. And then I glued a bunch of like aliens and weird skull astronauts. Think of like from Doctor Who, where the ghosts take over those astronauts or whatever. I think it was one of the David Tennant seasons. And yeah, so that's kind of where I got the inspiration from. That was my inspo. But and then I was like, this is kind of corny and specific, and I don't even think it just looks like I hate NASA or something. I don't know what was. I don't know. Half the time I don't know what I'm thinking. So. Alright, I think it's recording me now. Yeah, we're doing good. So, a lot of times when we think of ancient Roman and Greek sculptures, we think of them being like these demure kind of like white marble and limestone, or like bronze carvings or whatever, but just like their descendants, the Italians and the Greeks, the art of the ancient Roman world, the ancient Europeans was, well, at least Romans and Greeks, was actually kind of gaudy, brightly colored, painted to look like people. And it's a lot more fun than what you think of or what you see necessarily in a museum in your average major city in the U.S. or wherever across the world. So I kind of want to paint Fortuna. Actually, I gotta make her bigger. I gotta make the shoulders too small. I gotta make this arm bigger. I thought, I'll start with I'll make the background kind of drab, and then I'll kind of do the detail later. But I kind of like adding the darks and stuff to it. Oh yeah, she's way too thin. If that's her head, man, she needs a way bigger head. Maybe that's just because I have a big head. I like making things with big heads. But yeah. But the Romans would often, even like up until like the Renaissance, would make like a lot of the sculptures. Like, I mean, I guess maybe I'm pulling specifically from Michelangelo's David. The head and the hands are totally out of natural. Well, what would have been the thought of normal proportions, because that was basically supposed to stand in the nave? No, the clerestory. In the like the triangle at the front of one end, at the top of the building, so that he wanted to make everything just a wee bit bigger to put emphasis on his head and hands. So this was actually supposed to be like a... Oh man, I'm totally losing all that drawing I did. I hate when I do this. All right, let's keep that away for now. Let's see. Do I have a good? Let's try it up. All right. What is this? Is this yellow? This is like a basic white person flesh tone. Although, let's be honest, the Romans came in many shapes and sizes and colors. I'm gonna make mine kind of whitey. This is because I kind of think of these gods as kind of sitting in the pantheon or on Mount Olympus, kind of doing nothing. And as a pale Italian myself, it kind of seems like it would fit, making these folks kind of fit that thing. But I'm probably only going to spend an hour on this thing tonight. I'm kind of addicted to this idea of live painting. Addicted is probably too strong of a word, but I like the idea of doing the live painting, because not only do I get to paint a bit, I also get to, get some painting done, and then I get some content creation. Because as a trained art school graduate, nothing makes me happier than knowing that I get to be a content creator, like some kind of Baroque influencer. No, I hate that part of the art stuff. I don't want to, as an artist, I don't want to make content. I don't. I want to work on my little projects and have a big party and invite everybody to come see them. That's what I want. I want a little reception. I want a little vernissage, which is just, I think, French for reception. And I hate this part. But in 2024, I don't really know what you do other than like spend all your money on submitting your work to open calls that all require a $35 submission fee. And I think to myself, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to submit myself into eviction if I keep having to submit things. So I thought, hey, let us try something a little bit well, not different. A lot of artists do this. A lot of artists. I get ads for artists all the time. I don't know if you're ever on Instagram, or you'll get like, oh, this person. I got this one from this guy who's like the most. What was he called? Matthew something. I can't. Did not make an impression on me. Not the ad. The ad actually made an impression on me, but his work was kind of boring. He was like copying cause, which is fine. I mean, the dude was probably like 25. So if you're going to copy anybody, I guess Brian Donnelly makes sense. But I'm just not interested in that. He's like every other pop artist where they've got one character and they're going to put that character into every painting. But we've all done it. Well, actually, no. I've definitely done it. I'm not going to throw y'all under the bus. He's also coming from the guy with skulls and everything, so whatever. But, I don't know. It just felt a little... I don't know what word we use anymore. It's not chuggy or whatever. I went to go visit my girlfriend in Chicago, and she had this little statue that she got in New Orleans of this. It was like a Santeria saint. There's a better word for it. I was gonna say I keep calling it a yokai, which doesn't make any sense. But Oshun is basically it's probably one of many, because I think there's a ton of voodoo and hoodoo saints who represent different aspects of culture and life. But Oshun is like the very popular as a good luck goddess, or the goddess of good luck and fortune. And I thought, of course, like oh my god, look at all these doodads on this thing. I didn't know it was a shrine. I mean, I'm not, I'm an atheist or whatever, but I still want to be respectful. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to get bad juju because I was playing around with Oshun's offerings, not even realizing what I was doing. Alas, me being me. So I thought, I'll make them a little painting. I haven't done that yet, obviously, because I'm doing this giant painting. Because part of me wants to make them a dollar painting, but I won't be going to Chicago for at least, again, till October. So I figure I'll just paint it right before, something small that I can throw into my carry-on that won't also take up too much space. This altar is just like, it's a few little, like, a couple candles and some knickknacks that Katie thought, like, like acorns and pine cones that she thought were kind of cool looking. And so I thought, I should do something similar. Alright. You kind of just see Fortuna a bit, which is kind of nice. Ooh, I'm going to put some of this on the palette. Palette today, I don't even know. Definitely Mars Black, because I'm basic. Titanium White, Mars Black. Right? What is this? Pyrrole Red. Teal, Blue Lagoon. Bleu Lagon, or teal. And then, what's this one? Cadmium? No. Phthalo Blue. The Phthalo Blue. Phthalo Blue, I think. I don't know how you pronounce it. Actually, no. This might actually be Bone Black, right? No, it's Mars Black. Mars Black. Noir de Mars, yep. And then the yellow I cannot find. I might need that more. Yellow Light Hansa. Don't know. I've never heard of that color, but there it is. So I'm going to add this kind of color I made for the Fatima backdrop to my palette for later, because I'll probably need it for mixing. I think what I'm going to do now is, normally I really like to do the whole, usually, I say this every time I stream, but I like to work general to specific. Like work on the big parts and then kind of work your way down and then iron everything out eventually. But the problem with that is that sometimes I get distracted by a part of the painting and I'm like, I gotta fix that. So we'll see how well I can control myself. Probably not well. I'm probably gonna get fixated on something I mess up and then want to fix it or whatever. But that's just my prerogative. No one knows No one knows but you. It's just between you and me and the wall and my chocolate milk. Oh no, I finished my chocolate milk. Really wanted something kind of sweet, and I was like, ugh. I cannot make myself a coffee this late at night. I will never go to bed. More because I tried to buy a coffee on the way home, and every coffee shop was closed. So I made myself a little chalky milk. Alright, let's try this. It's gotta be darker. So in my mind, this is supposed to be like her looking out. I'm actually modeling this on a statue I found online. I don't know how accurately Greek it is, but I thought, hey, I always find it fun when I'm painting to kind of use classical pieces as my models, or classical sculpture, excuse me, as my model. And it's not because I feel like I'm definitely someone who likes modern painting and contemporary painting more, but um, there's something about classical sculpture where they really, really spend time on the shapes. I sometimes feel like looking at a photograph of a sculpture is just easier than trying to, what you call it, figure it all out from scratch, you know? All right, let's see. I'm going to do her dress here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put her hand almost touching the dress. And a whole nice little rope thing. I think when this dries, I'll probably be able to see it a little bit better. We're already running out of light. Something about doing this all in acrylic I find really fun. I don't even know why I'm stuck on doing this in gray. I already said I don't want to, but I guess I want to do like a gray underpainting. Right? That makes sense. That sounds like I know what I'm doing. All right, let's take a walk on the wild side. We're gonna add a little bit of iridescent white to this piece, up in this piece. Liquitex Basics. It's okay. It's fine. I've been painting a lot lately with these golden fluids, which are really nice. I've been adding water to my paint my whole life. Then I was one day I was like, oh, I wonder what it would be like if I used fluid paint, and it's so nice. It spreads. It's not chunky. It layers really nicely. It actually has. If you take like a heavy body acrylic, like most of the paint I normally buy, and probably it's probably because I was taught by oil painters how to acrylic paint, and that's fine. They still know more than I do, but I just kind of prefer this method. Um, It's what I like about acrylic. You can kind of mix anything with it. Like you can collage into it really easily. I guess you probably could do that with oil. I just don't know how. I've never really done it. It's really good for mixed media stuff. I don't know if you can see this on the feed. Oh my god, this chat will not load. Load, chat, load. Like, I think because acrylic paint is essentially just plastic, so it's pretty inert when it comes to like other stuff. I mean, like it's painting right over this collage stuff. You can I don't know if you can see it. There's like little skulls built into this because that was just like the way I did the. Kind of liking this weird iridescent paint now. I'm actually charging my phone, so I don't really have the actual painting at my fingertips. But I will say, up until I started painting over it, the underlying sketch was pretty great, and I was pretty proud of it. You can't see it. I can barely see it. I'm like 12 inches from this painting, but that's okay. I also feel like eventually I'll be able to just kind of like dip in. Let's try and fill in some of these. Try and improve the contrast. I mean, I can always go back. And paint. That's the other brilliant part of acrylic. I know everyone's like, "Oh yeah, oil paint. You can like work it forever until you decide, and then it magically stops being workable." Well, I guess you got to put a varnish on it, but like I personally love how quickly acrylic dries, so you can kind of like move on and go back and like really go in and mess around with things and experiment. I think that part I find really fun. I mean, you're also talking to a guy who also likes a lot of oil paint. I know oil paint. Watercolor paint and gouache. So, like, to me, the acrylic kind of mimics that more. Gotta get the edge. Gotta get the edge. Gotta always watching the edge on the stream. I don't. It drives me nuts when I go into galleries and people are like, "Oh yeah, it's a $3,000 painting. Didn't even paint the edge. You didn't paint the edge." Like maybe you're fancy, and maybe your clients will frame all your paintings. I am not fancy. I cannot afford that. If I frame a painting, it's probably because it's on paper, which is fine. I think it's fine to frame photographs. I think look good. They're going to get annihilated by just the environment of your home if you don't frame a photograph or a drawing on paper. But I feel like with acrylic, you're just like, or even oil, like if you're going to have a canvas, you don't necessarily need to frame it. I think it's definitely preferred, but definitely by artists. But like it's not. You could get away with not framing stuff if it's wired properly on the back. You know, just putting a nice hang wire right into the structure bars. But you can't tell me, because even if I'm like, if I want to make it, I was gonna say bougie, but like, you know, some people like a nice floating frame where like the frame is actually kind of attached from the back onto the. Oh, that's some dried paint up in there from the edge of this. Gotta put that in there. There we go. All right. So, there we go. I think later I'll start doing the modeling of her hair more. You know what I might end up doing? I might just make her like, I might make her have brown skin later on. I don't know. Part of me feels like Fortuna being a Roman god should be white, but now as I'm saying that, it doesn't. There's no real ethnic purity on the Italian peninsula. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I'm saying this as an Italian American. As someone whose ancestors came from the ethnically diverse part of Europe, there's certain parts of Europe, like Spain and Italy and the Balkans and I would say even like the former Soviet states like Russia, where there was a ton of exchange between them and Africa and Asia. And it's very common for people of mixed races to then settle, or people to be, born of a mixed race, and then their descendants settle in an area. I mean, I think about my own grandmother, who always had tight, kind of kinky, curly hair, um, and the fact that my grandfather on the other side was part Sicilian, right? He was Italian and Irish, so but he always thought of himself as Black Irish, which, if you're not familiar, it actually doesn't have to do with black people. It's a very strange term, but so there is like a area of Ireland where a number of Spaniards, like people actually from Spain, I think sailors landed or were basically got stuck there and settled there. And it's a very common, normal, well-known thing. And the Black Irish are thought of to be the descendants of those people. And a common thing amongst them, and I think partially what makes me think they might have like Algerian blood or like North African blood in general, is that guys like my grandfather also would grow a red beard. Paul would never want to let his facial hair grow before he went gray because he did not like his red beard, his like ginger beard, which is a very common thing amongst people in Spain and North Africa, Sicily, so very interesting. I don't know. I find that stuff like I don't know. I find diasporas like, I mean, considering I'm the descendant of the Italian diaspora. My kids are part of the Jewish diaspora. I love the idea of like, okay, yes, we're from a place, but then we were from a different place beforehand. These kind of groups were kind of others upon others and upon others. It's very interesting. Kind of makes you realize the diversity of people's experience, because as Americans we always think of like, oh, your family's Spanish or your family's French, your family's German, your family's Puerto Rican, but it's like no, like they didn't start. Not everyone started out there. There were native, what do you call it? There were native Europeans in places. So a lot of us are descendants of this. Think of like the Druids. The Druids were essentially pagan native Irish, and when the church eventually, through the Roman Empire, moved into Ireland, they tried to drive them out or tried to convert them by turning their pagan rituals and their pagan holidays into Christian holidays. I mean, I'm not saying that we're the only one, but I know about my family's history, so I can only speak with any kind of credibility about that. Like, like I have friends who are Brazilian, but it's like, yes, you're Brazilian, but like some of your family are native South Americans, and some of your family are Portuguese, and that's kind of fascinating. Like Puerto Ricans are a mix of the Spaniards, the some of the slaves who were captured and sent there through chattel slavery, and the Taino people who occupied the island before all of that. And that is fascinating to me, because really the Puerto Rican identity is really kind of a mix of all that. All right, so now I kind of have this base painting, I'm slowly losing my mind. I'm going to take... No, I'll do this in black. I already poured all this black. I gotta use some of it. I'm gonna go in and outline I use this finer brush to outline my features. You know what? I'm gonna mess it up anyway. All my friends know. Dave is a professional turd polisher. And what that means is I like to mess it up so that I get to fix it. Because I like experimenting. Because sometimes, like, you make a mistake and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I sometimes like to do that in my own work. I gotta do a better job of cleaning some of these brushes. I often will kind of. I mean, I'm not working. I'm not working on a timer. A time limit. This is not due for any particular show. This is literally just me messing around. I'll probably end up painting over this eventually anyway. This is. I mean, if I don't like it, why won't this? Sorry, this paintbrush won't stay in my holder. It's too big, I think. Yeah. One of my little sweeties gave me this cool cup. I can't get it out of the thing right now because it'll be super awkward. But Frida got me this. What do you call it? This water cup that also has like brush holders on the side. It's essentially like all silicone, so it's really easy to clean. And I use it for all my water. Oh yeah, I definitely messed those eyes up. That's alright. And like for the wide majority of my brushes, the little rubber holder on the outside totally does the job of being able to hold most of my brushes. The only one it cannot hold, I have a couple like larger oil brushes that I can't hold because the handles are too thick. You know. So did I make her eyes lopsided? I did. Ugh. See, this is what happens when you're painting at an angle. I really should be standing up. I'm gonna need to lower this a little bit, but all that work I just did. Womp womp. Let's paint this over a little bit. It's okay. Like I said, I love painting myself into a corner. And then having to figure it out. My original plan. That's not trying to. Oh, it's still wonky. What am I doing? Ugh. Brother. I'm always worried that guy's like going about something that is like normal. That meme always makes me a little bit nervous. I get nervous when these memes come out of total context because I don't know what he's going. Brother. I don't know what he's oohing. Is he oohing like people not being kind to each other? Then my friend, I'm on the same page. Is he oohing trans people? I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe this dude is terrible. I don't know. Maybe he's a milkshake duck. You don't know that term. It's like it's a meme or a thing that everyone loves, and then we turn out, oh no, it's actually terrible. The joke is, oh, everyone loves milkshake duck. It turns out milkshake duck is actually racist. You know. Every time, like one of these meme people. Did I make that eye too? You know what? I'm leaving it too high. It's better than it's better than the opposite. I put way too much paint in this thing. I feel like lately, every time I see somebody become like famous overnight, I'm like, oh, when are we gonna find out that they have like bodies under their porch or something? This hand is insane. Don't know what I was thinking, but I'm just gonna leave it for now. I'm probably gonna put something in the hand anyway. But I just noticed that. I could not notice it. Fame is such a weird thing. You see, like, people losing their mind. This ongoing thing with, like, Chapel Roan being weirded out by fans coming up to her. Her? Yeah, I think her. And, like, saying weird stuff or demanding hugs or demanding anything from a young woman on the street seems like a little nutty. But whatever. Couldn't be me. I like to keep my distance. But yeah, just people being like weird to her in public, which is like, yeah, the problem is, right? I think this lady, Chapel Roan, I don't really know that much about her. I just know Chapel Roan's not her real name. It's something like, I think she's from Missouri. I don't know much about Missouri, but I know a lot of people like to pronounce it Missouri. Which doesn't make any sense to me. But I also lived in Boston, where all the R's were A's and all the A's were R's. So I get it. People be peopling. Like, I think she just wanted to be like gay famous. I think her goal was to like ultimately be like one of those singers who's only famous to like, I don't know how to describe gay famous, but there's like certain people who are gay famous. So I'll use the exact example my girlfriend used. So there's this podcast, La Culturistas. It is hosted by two comedians. I believe both are gay. And one of them is Bowen Yang, who is a incredibly famous comedian on SNL. I think Bowen Yang's hilarious. Really funny. Everything that dude does is hilarious. Great. Love Bowen Yang. He is normal famous. He is everyday famous. He's famous to a variety of people who pay attention to comedy. I can't remember his name now. The guy, his co-host, is not normal famous. He is gay famous. I literally was like, who is this guy? We were watching Drag Race. I was like, I don't know who this guy is. Everyone seems to just be excited to see him. And it turns out it's Bowen Yang's co-host of the podcast. And he is gay famous, meaning that he is not famous to the wider community. But if he walked into the right neighborhood in like a Tenderloin or a Castro or just like a gay neighborhood, an event that catered to people who are really into gay culture. And I thought I was until I realized I didn't know who this dude was. People like there would lose their minds because he is like a beloved host of a really funny podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's someone who's nerd famous. Like, people would not lose their mind probably if they met Henry Zabrowski, right? But as one of the co-hosts of the last podcast on the left, in certain circles, and a lot of the circles I run in, people would lose their minds. Honestly, like, if I met Henry Zabrowski, he actually played a supporting role in The Wolf of Wall Street, and I would be way more excited to meet Henry Zabrowski than I would even to meet Leonardo DiCaprio, and Leonardo DiCaprio, who is a wonderful actor, very famous. I watched a lot of movies with him in them, and he does a good job often. I thought he did a great job in Wolf of Wall Street, but like Henry Zabrowski would be, I would lose my mind. Maybe Henry Zabrowski is like what we call like middle-aged weirdo famous. No, I think a lot of Zoomers enjoy him as well. But like me, he too is a millennial. He's actually younger than I am. But I would lose my mind if I saw him in the streets. I'd be like, oh my god, I know what I saw. And I would like scream and lose my mind. I'm actually going to go see them in October. Oh man, I shouldn't do that knot. I don't remember what it looked like. It was a square knot, but it had a loop coming out of it. All right, whatever. Oh man, you know what I've been having trouble with? I was gonna give her blue eyes only because I have blue, which is funny to me because like, oh, I have brown eyes, so really, and most of the world has brown or black eyes, so. My only problem with black eyes is it's hard to see. Oh, now this is green. Dang it. It's hard to see the pupils. I'm not gonna. Oh my, how did I turn this gray? Oh my god! I added red. I added orange. I added yellow, and then a little bit of blue, and now it's gray, and now it's puke green. Your guys are gonna be puke green, Fortuna. Sorry. Do I have tubes of brown? Sure. This is so funny to me. It's like toxic Avenger. I don't know. Like to me, I kind of like that for the neck. Um, there's just certain people who are like. I mean, isn't that really the ideal to be like to be somewhat famous, be able to do your craft, like make your living from your craft. It's my ideal to like make a living through my craft. I would love to be a full-time painter, but then only be famous to like people in a certain group. Like if I just felt like I couldn't handle being well known, I would just like avoid the areas where I know people who would understand my notoriety would go. It just seems that simple. I guarantee people who probably see Henry Zabrowski, because I know he lives in LA, because they talk about LA a lot in their podcasts, but like, I don't think that people who he goes to get his like coffee care anything about his podcast. They're not. They see famous people all the time. He's probably not even the most famous person who goes into that coffee shop. But to me, like, I would love that. Like, if I could have all of the benefits of fame, like being able to use that to feed myself without any of the stressors. I don't know. I used to joke sometimes, like, being a teacher is like being famous without the money. Because you go out and it's like, oh, Mr. Lamore, what are you doing? And you're like, oh my god, I have to be on my best behavior because someone who knows me is here. And they might like say something if I do something weird or whatever. It used to happen more when I worked in Roselle. But, but it doesn't have the benefits of money or whatever like that. However, it's fine. Oh yeah. So if I haven't mentioned it, the what you're looking at now is what we call an overlay. It is a just kind of like a basic version of what you might see on like a real streamer's stream. It's got my my patron. I only have one patron who's at the level of wanting to get mentioned in the podcast, the video podcast, because I'm still because of life circumstances. I don't really want to get into it, but um, everything's fine. But I don't have my kids this weekend because of holiday stuff. Like my ex and I kind of split holidays, and I totally did not realize. I always forget about Labor Day. Labor Day is just never on my radar, and so I was going to record with my kids, and then I'm like, oh, I don't have my kids, and as much as I want to finish this Cryptid Mountain series, I don't want to mess up the schedule that we have with the kids, because like, how do you explain to your ex-wife like, oh yeah, well actually I'm doing a video series with our children, and I need my voice actors. Like I feel insane just saying that out loud. But whatever, it's fine. Sorry for the chat being wonky. I can't see any of it for some reason, and I don't know enough how to fix it. All right. I really sorry. This light is killing me here. She's lopsided. She is definitely lopsided. It's alright. Fortuna, you're lopsided. I'll try and fix you later. Like, what was I saying? Yeah. So like a lot of traditional Greek and Roman statues often look like these pristine white colors, because often these marble statues were painted to, they were carved beautifully and then painted over to add realism to them. And over time, the paint essentially faded away. And they really would have been really colored, kind of. Gaudy's not the right word for it, because I personally kind of think they're kind of neat colored. But if you're someone who's like goes to like the net, and you're like, oh, look at these like really understated statues. Real Italians and Greeks did not paint like that. Did not carve like that. The paint kind of slowly fell off. I don't know if that's the same for Egyptian statues. I don't think Egyptians painted their statues very often. I know they painted artifacts, a lot of their funerary antiques, their funerary artifacts and things that they were going to bury with their dead. But I don't know if that was the same thing for statues. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, maybe yellow and orange is not a good idea. But you know what the best part is? You can paint over it. Apologies if I'm using my teacher voice, but it happens. I've already been in the school, been in my new school, set up one of my 3D printers. I go back next week for meetings and whatnot, and then I'll set up the other 3D printer. I do kind of like that though, but it's not. It's definitely wonky. Hey man, this is just. I'm not a painter. I'm a sculptor. So I might have to add some three-dimensional elements to this. Also, maybe I shouldn't just be painting wild colors off the top of my head without planning it out. But again, that's what happens when you don't sketch things out, when you're kind of just doing it off the top of your dome. Actually, this brush is not too small. Is this? No. I thought for a second the brush was dirty. The brush is not dirty. The brush is scratching off. The bristles on this brush are kind of harsh. Let's go over some of that, I guess. You know what? No. Oh, she's still a little upsided. I found out something funny today. I went to a figure drawing event in Rahway, which was great. I really enjoyed it. Shout out to Terrence. Oh my God, is it Rudolph or Randolph? I can't remember. The card is not on my pants anymore because I'm wearing the pink pants. I gotta double check. The guy who organized it brought us to 210 Studios in Rahway. Mr. Midnight on Instagram. There's other numbers too, but he it was a really good time. I love these figure drawing things. I don't know, it was fun. But he was telling me, oh no, somebody else was telling me. The other guy was telling me. It turns out that like RuPaul and Henry Rollins are like besties, which is insane to me. I, as someone who loves I don't know who made the whole Glenn and Henry Forever comics, the comic that kind of pretends that Glenn Danzig and Henry Rollins are in love with each other, and they're like it's a romance comic starring a fictional Henry Rollins and a fictional Glenn Danzig. But it just like I even more want a comic where RuPaul and Henry Rollins hang out. And it turns out he was a guest on Drag Race, and I never even saw it. Blew my tiny mind. Oh man, I already broke the hour. All right, I'm gonna finish up a little bit here. This is giving real Vivienne Westwood vibes, but like dime store Vivienne Westwood. I might have to come in and fix this, but I think part of it is just I kind of missed some of the details, but I'm happy with it so far. But yeah, that's it for me. If you want to, there are the where is it? Right there. Oh no, I should use the other one. There is my Instagram, David Lamort, Instagram.com/David Lamort, my YouTube, YouTube.com/David Lamort, and the Twitch you're watching right now, Twitch.tv/David Lamort. Or you can check out the Patreon, Patreon.com/Lamort, because that would have been smarter. I probably should have changed them all to Lamort, but that's all right. It's too late now. But yeah, feel free to join me. I'm really going to start doing these on Thursday for real. But I keep having free time and thinking to myself, oh, I should work on that painting I've been talking about. So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate all of you. And see you next time.